welcome back to another video. So today's video is going to be a little bit different to my other ones because I want to take you guys on a bit of a journey with myself today on the Indian Scout Bobber and just kind of go over some of the stuff of the reasons of why I bought this bike in the first place, a bit of my journey and my experience that I've had with this bike over the last, what's this now, a year and a half roughly. There's also a lot of questions people have asked in my other videos, so things like, is this an ideal first bike? Should I swap my sports bike for a cruiser? Should I swap my cruiser for a sports bike? And just many other little things. So anything I can think of that comes to my head today, I'm just going to kind of ride and just explain as we go along. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And feel free to comment things that I've missed in today's video that you may want answered. Now before we set off on the bike, shall I just go over some of the modifications that I've had done to my Indian Scout Bobber, because this does look a lot different to what it does stock. Let's start with the front end of the bike. So I've changed this headlight to an LED version. I fitted this myself. You can find the video on my channel. I also fitted this prison grille, which does need a bit of a respray. It's not lasted very long, so I need to pull all this off of the bike, give this a bit of a lick of paint. That's probably going to be the next winter job. I've got aftermarket front indicators. You can barely see them, but they are quite bright. If you do put them on, just turn the key on. And yeah, you can see they are pretty bright. Same with the headlight, it looks much better, more modern. Just down here, I've just recently fitted these rubber suspension covers. I just think it looks better, blacks the front of the bike out a bit more. The tyres is another recent thing that I've had fitted. So these are Avon Cobra Chrome tyres. Now whilst this has come to my head, this is a question people ask on forums and myself all of the time with the rear tyre. Now the question is, what is the widest tyre you can put on a stock rim on an Indian Scout Bobber? That was one of my questions because I know what people mean. When you buy this bike, the rear tyre looks far too skinny and you just need a little bit more width. So it like kind of goes with this rear mudguard. Now if I bring the camera here, you can see it looks much better now with the mudguard. Of course it's on a slant, so if I tilt the camera, you can see it kind of goes with the mudguard. Now the size that I've been told by More Speed Racing in Poole is 180/70 R16. So that is the size tyre you should be going for if you're thinking of changing that on your Indian Scout Bobber, and it handles so much better. I'll tell you one thing, since I've had these tyres changed over to these Avon Cobra Chromes and that tyre a little bit more wider, this grips absolutely amazing on like tight twisty roads. Of course, you've got to be careful with the lean angle. You've only got 29 degrees. But again, this is another modification I can bring you onto next. So I've got these Wonderkind foot pegs. You can see it stamped if I clean it off a bit. So Wonderkind foot pegs. If you do have tight, twisty roads and you're a bit scared of scraping the pegs, you can just lift this up with your foot and that gives you the clearance that you need. But of course, you just got to be safety conscious with your bends anyway. But that is another modification that I want to change personally on the bike. Now whilst we're in this area, you can see I've got the Indian Scout 20 graphics custom made. So this is not sprayed onto the bike, this is a decal that's been custom made and put on for me. I just prefer that look compared to the badges. There's nothing wrong with the badges, I still love the bike, but I just love that graphic with the other chrome bits I've got going on. Now the seat is custom made. This was one of the best modifications that I changed. Now with the stock seat, I found after about an hour's riding, you need to pull over when you start getting butt pains, etc., lower back pains. But I've had this custom made from a company called Cycle Ops in America. They've added all this like special technology foam inside of this seat. And when you sit on it, you can see you get a bit more of a lip on the back. So when you put the power on, it keeps you in one place. You don't go flying back like you do on the stock seat. And another thing, if you've been putting like protection spray on your bike and that ends up on your stock seat, you will know as an owner, you will go flying back and you'll be pulling yourself forward constantly on the bars. So yeah, that was 100% worth changing. It wasn't cheap. It was about 500 and something pound for that seat, but it was so worth doing if you're doing long distance riding like myself. Let's move on round to the rear. So I've got a side mounted number plate. These are not cheap to buy either. It's about £450 just for that side mounted plate. I do need to change this number plate because this is classed as a show plate. You're not allowed that on the road, so I need to get another one. The rear indicators and brake lights, these are aftermarket. They look so much more smarter, especially at night. It just kind of goes with the look of the bike that I want it to. Now let's move round to the noisiest modification of this bike, and that is the twin Maverick Crusher exhaust pipes that's fitted to this. It's straight through with just the cans on the end, and it is ridiculously loud. I'll just start the bike up for you quickly so you can hear it. Sorry, I had to do that one-handed. So, yeah. My neighbours really do not enjoy this bike being started up if I've got to go to work at sort of 6:30 in the morning. Luckily, I don't ride this every day, but it does sound so good. It turns heads absolutely everywhere I go, especially if you go down or go through small little towns, etc. People absolutely love it. People are always waving at you, telling you to rev it, you know how it goes. But yeah, it just looks so mean and aggressive with the small mods that I've put onto the bike. The only other modification that I can think of that I've added is this thermostat cover, another Wonder kind of product, which just sits in the middle here. And I think that's pretty much it. I just kind of jump on the bike and enjoy riding it pretty much. So what I'm going to do now is get the rest of my kit on, set the GoPros up, and we're going to go for a little ride, and I'm just going to explain the reasons of why I bought this bike and some of the other questions I can think of in my head. Hopefully the angles look okay. If you want to know where I am currently, I'm literally up the road from Longleat Safari Park, Warminster Way in Wiltshire. So these areas are really nice, very nice back roads, but then you've got like a lot of like nice main roads around it too. So I'm going to go a way I've never been before, and we're just going to have a little general chat about the ownership of this bike. Right, off we go. So I apologise if it's a bit windy, but it shouldn't be too bad. So I guess I should begin with, why did I buy this bike in the first place? So I was looking online for ages at all types of bikes, and I mean everything, super bikes, naked bikes, cruisers, and I just couldn't decide what I wanted. All I knew is I wanted something a bit different, something that looked nice, something that was quick enough, safe enough, comfortable to ride long distance, because I like to adventure around. And I started looking actually at the Harley 883, is it? And also the Sportster S. So I'm just going to pull over a sec, let this car go round. So yeah, I had my heart, to be honest, set on getting like a Harley, and then one day I just seen a picture of an Indian Scout bobber, which I've never heard of in my life, and I just instantly fell in love with the look of it. I knew nothing about it, I didn't know what CC it was, I didn't know anything about it whatsoever, but I did begin to look into it. The more I started to look at them online, I just couldn't resist but looking at one in person at a showroom. Funnily enough, half hour up the road from where I am, there was an Indian dealership amongst like a load of other manufacturers. So I took a little trip up there, had a little sit down on a few of the bikes. None of them were Indian Scout bobbers, they were all like the other models, but I still really enjoyed just getting the feel of an Indian. And I was on holiday, this was near Christmas time last year, and it turns out in Poole in Dorset there's a company called More Speed Racing, which are an Indian dealership as well, or they're in partnership with Indian. So of course I had to go and take a little trip, and this is where I found this exact bike that I'm riding right now, and I just fell in love with it. I had a little sit down, had a little test ride, and I was so impressed with like how nice the quality of the bike felt, how nimble it feels. It looks like the bike looks a lot bigger than it actually is, but when you get on it, this bike's actually really easy and nimble to throw around, because it's just a really strange feeling once you get on this bike. It's just very easy to ride, which I can answer the common question people always ask is this ideal for people that's new to riding to get one of these as a first big bike? I think, my opinion, I think yes, depending on your riding experience. So if you're not the most confident rider, I would probably say maybe get the Scout 60, just to be a bit more sensible. But the trouble is, once you adapt to the power, you may start thinking, actually, I should have got the Scout Bobber and had the little extra horsepower. But that is entirely up to you as a rider. You've got to do what you feel is safe for yourself. But of course, there's lots of different bikes you can choose from. It doesn't have to be the Scout Bobber, of course, but I just think they're such a brilliant bike. It's really worth the money. Now, let's go back to when I bought this exact bike. The reason why I bought it was because this was up for £11,250 at the time. It had 3,400 miles on the clock, so it's pretty much not even ran in, and I had £10,000 maximum to spend on a bike. And with it being near Christmas, of course, I'm trying my luck here with trying to push to get this down to near £10,000, but that was a big ask off of the price. Now, when I viewed this, there was a few things that needed changing. So the grips were a bit tatty, the rear tyre needed changing. I'm trying to think, there was a few other things, but basically, it needed a full service, that was it. So if you add some of the cost up, they would have to knock money off anyway, and it did mount up to quite a bit. So I said, look, I'm happy to pay £10,000. I'll put a deposit down today and I will take this bike away. So it's a bit of like back and forth sort of conversation, but More Speed Racing said, look, I'll let you have it for £10,000, which I was over the moon with, and I do not regret accepting that offer one bit. It's just been an absolute blast having this bike as ownership. More Speed Racing as well, they've been absolutely brilliant. Everything I've asked that I've been a bit unsure of, they answer me straight back in emails. If I go there in person, they're always happy to chat to you, no matter how long the conversation is. The merchandise is good. It's always worth going up there and just getting yourself a t-shirt, a hoodie, or some other sort of safety clothing. The quality is always right up there, being American branded. Yeah, I just cannot fault the ownership whatsoever. They've been absolutely brilliant, like I said. The servicing is a bit expensive. Just get around these people a second. Now, dead animal on the road. Now the servicing, like I said, is a bit expensive. I think it's about 400 and something pounds, but there is quite a lot involved, and this, to be fair, is a pretty bulletproof bike. Hardly goes wrong. Just coming up to Shearwater Lake, you'll see on my left in a second. Just thought I'd cut that in. This is a really nice location. I've shown you guys this in a previous video. If you capture this on a really nice sunny day, it's beautiful. Lots of fishermen today. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that. Just cruise on through. There you go. Stunning location. One of my favourite places I like to just stop off and take in the view sometimes. So anyway, yeah, service costs quite expensive. Parts as well. Parts are very expensive for this bike. Anything modification wise you want to add to the bike, unless you get a good deal second hand, you are looking at 3 digits most of the time, if not 4, especially if you're looking at exhaust upgrades. So I actually want to change my exhaust to the 2-to-1 Freedom Combat exhaust. I absolutely love the look of it on these bikes. I think that would finish the look off as for the look that I'm going for, but I think it's about £1,500 just to change it, so I'm in no rush to do that just yet. And same with the suspension. A lot of people do ask, what's the suspension like when riding? This is a hard one to answer, because yes, it is a very stiff ride. If you hit potholes, you definitely know about it. It does jolt your lower back, but the more you ride, the more you become more vigilant on the roads. You take more things in, you know when to dodge things. So overall, you're satisfied with what you've got. You don't really need to change the suspension if you don't want to. I would like to, but again, it's like £900 if you want something decent. So there is suspension like Öhlins. I can't remember some of the other brands, but you can pick them up for sort of £450, and a lot of people saying you don't need to go for the really high price suspension and you get the same quality. So maybe that's something I should look into eventually. Again, it's just cost and time and patience. Let's go left here. I have no idea where I'm going, guys. I'm just literally riding around for the sake of it. So let's move on to what I actually think of the ride of this bike. Like, one of the main things, of course, you've bought the bike. Is it what I expected? To be honest with you, this is more than I expected. I just can't believe how much bike you get for the money. And you know, the power is brilliant, the handling amazing, as long as you respect the lean angle, of course. So if you're going to approach something very tight, make sure you bring that speed down. Just common sense, really. I'm not just saying this because I own the bike, but this is such a nice handling bike, and the power is instant. Definitely not shy of power. It just keeps on going. Very impressive for a cruiser. It's definitely something that I didn't expect to be so good. Being a cruiser, I thought that'd be quite a lazy powered bike. Absolutely not. It's belt driven, which is very instant power. It's very torquey, being a V-twin. It's just brilliant. Cannot fault it whatsoever. Always sounds amazing as well, of course. So I apologise for the wind noise being on dual carriageway. I'll turn off and get back to some back roads or something. Go back towards Longleat. Oh, I love the sound when you blip the throttle going down the gears as well. Loves it. Like I said, the tyres grip so well too. But yeah, these types of road, this bike just comes to life. Absolutely loves it. Just wants to give it more and more. You just feel really engaged with the bike. That's one thing that I really do like about it. Like, after you've got used to like the position, it's a very comfortable position to be in, and you just feel really engaged with the bike. You just know everything it's going to do. You don't really need to shut off, put a bit of throttle on, grips, off you go again. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing feeling being on this thing. So, when I mentioned at the start of the video I had a sports bike, so I am going to do a separate video with riding the two and going through the same topics. But let me just try and answer that question. If you're one of these people considering to sell a sports bike for one of these, or vice versa, should you do it? Now, I've ridden the two, so I've got a Suzuki GSXR 600. It's an Isle of Man TT edition. You can see that on my channel too. Lovely condition bike, 2007, and I love the bike too. But if I had to compare against the two, it's very, very difficult what the decision would be. Now, it's going to be solely on what do you prefer. If you prefer being long distance riding all of the time and you're more of a solo rider, or riding in a group but like at a sensible pace, then the Indian Scout Bobber will win this every single time, because it's comfortable, it's quick enough, it will keep up with most things on the road if you need it to. But the Suzuki is more of like, if you're with a faster group of friends, or you want to have that little bit more of a kick with a thrill, so now that is your bike to choose. But if I had to choose between the two, like I said, it's very difficult, because I think if I really had to choose between the two, I would keep the Indian Scout Bobber personally, because you get more you get more out of the bike, and it's more safe too. Sports bikes, you know, you've really got to be on the ball all of the time. I mean, you have anyway, but you kind of know what I mean. You just get more for your money, I think. You really do get something that's built very well. The quality of everything's just brilliant. I mean, there is people that moan about the quality of the stuff on the Indian Scout Bobber, but to be honest, I don't think it's that bad. I do believe it's a really good, well-made bike for the money. I don't really understand what the moaning is all about. When you start like sitting on other things, like now, for example, I love KTMs, but they're always built so cheap with a high price tag, but they give you the thrill that, you know, you desire when you go out riding. But then you've got to sacrifice the quality for the fun. This is the same. You're not really getting the top end speed as such, but you are getting a hell of an experience and a nice ride too, and you're getting it for a fraction of the price of some of the other bikes on the market, which is really strange. Now, you always get the debate with these online too, of course. Would you go Harley Davidson or Indian? Now, the more threads you start to read, the more Harley Davidson owners, that's been owners for absolute years, are actually saying, look, I've got both, and they actually prefer the Indian, which, you know, is really surprising. I'm not a hater of Harley at all. If I had my way and I could afford it, I'd have both. I just love so many different types of bikes. I love Harleys, I love Indians, I love naked bikes, I love the adventure bikes. If I had my way, I'd probably have about 12 bikes in the garage, but of course you can only do what you can afford, and you just go from there. It's very nice scenery. Never been this way before. Very nice. A lot of blind bends, just got to be a bit wary of. You may be able to tell the difference. I don't know how it's coming across, but how loud the bike starts becoming, because you're like going down like an enclosed area. You don't even need to do much with the throttle, and it's just monstrous. Now, another thing for you guys to expect if you do end up buying one of these bikes is the attention this thing will draw to you everywhere. And I mean, like, everywhere you go, you just pull up in garages to get fuel. People always come over, they ask what it is, or if they know what it is, they don't see many around, which is one of the reasons why I bought this as well. I like things that's different, and I don't see any Indian Scout Bobbers really around my area, and of course it just attracts attention all of the time. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. The only thing I can recommend you do, if you've never ridden one, is go to a nearest dealership that's got one of these things and just give it a test ride. And I'm telling you now, once you've had sort of 40 minutes riding it, you'll see what I mean. You just feel really engaged with the bike. It's very responsive on the throttle. It's very relaxed if you want it to be, which helps you new riders out if that's something you're a bit scared of, being a new rider. But it is, look, I mean, I'm hardly doing anything here on the throttle. Look, literally, look, I'm just touching that throttle and I'm in third gear, and it's so tame. And then if you want it to be aggressive, wind the power on, and of course it'll just shoot off. Look, that's quarter throttle, look, it just picks straight up, instant. So yeah, there's nothing else for me to really say. Do I recommend the bike? I 100% recommend it. I'm not looking to sell this bike anytime soon. It's just amazing. I don't think there's much out there cruiser wise that I would really swap this for. I just think it's an absolute brilliant bike for the money. It handles well, the power's good, it looks good. It's everything that I want personally, and it's probably the same as what many of you guys want too when you're looking around on the market. So yeah, do not write this bike off if you're looking at other stuff. Definitely give it a test ride. So I'm going to leave today's video here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I am going to get some more videos put up, and just keep an eye on the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Until then, I'll catch you all in the next one very soon.